Hello, everyone. Everyone out there, that is. I'm addressing you all despite feedback or no feedback. Another episode, Potato Land, another week. I've sort of been getting things together this week, excited to have some structure at some point. And last two episodes, a little rocky, if you ask me. So let's get on the ball here, Mr. Young. Before I go to the notes, per se, I would love to know how you were doing, but we don't have to talk about it, especially because we can't. What? And I suppose if we aren't doing that, then the only other real segment I have is awkward silence, a moment of awkward silence, I mean, here. And if that shall come up, then whip-diddy-do, we have a segment in full blossom. But I'm trying to go boom, boom, boom through this stuff this week because it's been 7 days. I miss you guys, and by that I mean I miss myself. There's the body and the brain and the penis. I miss all three of us. Let's move on. Okay, I suppose we could start with what happened in the last episode, or what, as if that's a jingle and it needs its own airspace. I'm not sure about covering anything from last episode, except I used a goofy term. It was silly and goofy. Ethereal, upon further research, does not mean what I meant to say, which would be lofty. In that context, to catch you up to speed, I believe we were talking about a comic who was using lofty terms in relation to himself. And oh boy, do we not need to go over this again. So that's going to kill our segment about what was the smartest thing. It cancels it out, doesn't it? What was the smartest thing I said during this episode? We have a failure that carries over into the next week. I guess. Just playing as we go here. Let's go to the notes and see what we have. The next thing I would talk about is what's in the news. But I haven't yet earned my stripes, and well, I certainly wouldn't want to bring this up. Think about going to the toxins at this point. I already had a swig of this, and here we are again. I'm not sure I quite earned my stripes, because if I can't discuss a political situation to full conclusion, then who am I to speak on these topics? But for the sake of bringing it up and losing all of your attention and bringing it up one more time, if you've seen past episodes, that is, I suppose I've already brought it up. I know I've already brought it up twice in 2 different episodes, which is enough. The stupidity on the far right is equal, probably, or tantamount to the stupidity on the far left. I think that covers everything. We can quickly move on now. So I have what's in the news, and as far as anything update-wise, I suppose if I have my mask on, maybe we could talk about such things. Wear your mask, it's great, and it, greatly reduces your chance of, I don't know that they're talking about the real consequences of getting this stuff in your eye and the transmission rates and all that stuff. But it's good that everybody's wearing a mask. That's a step in the right direction. I suppose it actually can cover up some of my bad features. I suppose the question would really just be, how much do you think the vaccine costs? And by that, I mean, how much do you think it should cost? And if it costed that much, would you go and get it? And what freedoms in return would you receive for having to pay? A topic for a lesser platform, smaller platform maybe. That's wine. Although it is delicious, don't get thirsty. White wine, it's sweet and it's cheapest stuff I could find in the store. Moving on. What's new could be a segment. I don't know. What I did during the week. It could just be a... I suppose if I'm entertaining enough, we could talk about anything, if I did anything new during the week that is outside of routine. Forgive me, guys. I could do cocaine and this podcast could move a lot faster and stuff, but I'm just warming up, you know. If I'm actually talking to anybody, there's my... I love to warm up. As you just saw, second, warming up is the fun part. Second is the thrilling part. Swig of, what is this, wine? And now I'm on my third. So, what I mean to say is I don't have anything, I didn't come to the table with anything to talk about in terms of what's new. It was really just a topic of conversation, as in I'm adding it in there in the list of things that we could sort of jump to. And if I could memorize these, then I have a sort of formula for the podcast. And if we want, we can do chimes every time you know what I'm getting at. But just to go over the last few ones I might have wrote down, there's only about 3 more here. Don't want to pass it. Explain that joke as an offering to come up with a new one maybe. Explain that joke, so that could be maybe something I said just now, or maybe it could be something from last podcast, I suppose. Trying not to dig too far back in the past on these things, are we? But I don't have an explain that joke, so moving on real quickly here. Rare word usage. It's going to be a tough one to use. But we already talked about that. Color correction, that doesn't count as anything. I wanted to talk about that. And I suppose all I mean by that, to wrap it up here as we go, and you know what, never mind, there's nothing else on that list. So that wraps it up for going to the notes. But what I meant by color correction was, let's see if this can be the last podcast. In terms of doing your own podcast, I'm hoping that this final production edit, in the end turns out to be a decent color balance in terms of what you should be seeing in the room and behind me, or my face for that matter. So, yeah, now we can move on to, I guess, what's new. Another moment of silence, maybe? That's why you have things in your hands and habits and stuff. I should apologize for chewing gum last episode. I knew better. I didn't mean to do it. It was 100% accidental. But it happened. Did I do anything new this week? Not much, I don't think. Sort of getting used to a new schedule. That's about all I really care to say. And that just means that that's the end of that garbage. I suppose I made accomplishments in areas here and there, but still feel like I'm running behind. Hope everybody is keeping up with their busy stuff. There is a lot of busy to be done out there, and that includes all the little things like dusting your room. For one example. Just to use a more fun example. What else? I was planning to have I suppose we could go through, now that we've talked about that I haven't done anything, we can go over these last couple again. Well, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. That pretty much covers, we went over a good amount. All I mean is, in terms of smart conversation off the bat here, this is going to be a top heavy episode, but I think it's an important discussion that everybody can have, jump on Clubhouse or something. Talk about something like that, maybe. I really should have more people in my life that I can discuss this with, because I want it to get all the way up to the mayor. Ideally. What else? Don't let me stammer and drown here. I love doing this, and I am recording so late in the night because I actually want to get to that point where I feel like I miss doing it and then do it. But I did a lot of planning this week, as you could see, and all that quickly going to shit here now. But something I'd love to talk about. Well, at least share with you guys, and if you guys, I mean myself, then so be. But you do kind of want to embarrass yourself and then do better, ideally. And it's a very difficult trend to upkeep, because that would mean that you're just kind of doing a little bit better throughout your whole life until you get to some great area. And I'm going to give credit to the single kids out there for being the best at this. If you're one sibling and only child, I imagine you guys would be the best at that. But for me, it's probably a little more crazy, a little more up and down than that. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd like to pretend like I have some consistency on this show. I would argue 15 minutes of my voice. Who would want to hear more than that? So when the episode feels like it should end at 15 minutes, then, either I give it one last effort, or that really should be closing call time or whatever. I was going to say call time, but I don't know what it means. Maybe then we could move on to, if you wanted to do a podcast, this could be, you only have to watch 18 episodes of my garbage, but I pretty much covered everything you want. I could go with the backdrop. Not going to talk about this anymore. Okay. Let's see. I got more to talk about here. I can't even think of a good segue, so it really cancels out talking about it, and by that I mean, and by saying that means I should probably explain to you what I was going to talk about, but not having a proper segue means I'm just a little too emotional about one topic, and it does not need to be brought up at all. So what are we doing now? We're getting into silly, wacky land, and I'm supposed to tell you what I'm not supposed to talk about now. Okay. Politically, I'm going to do this in one sentence for sure. As long as we're not going to war and we can figure out how to fight each other. Such a dumb... I am my harshest critic, and I do not even like it when my ugly voice waxes poetic. So, but I did say it in the least amount of words. Put it in a song, you know? Don't leave this stuff for the podcast. Okay, or whatever this is called. We did have some fun on the last couple podcasts, so it's fine if we end it here, and that's okay. I'll be a little consistent, maybe a little inconsistent as well. But as for now, I hope everybody's doing great. I got one thing on my mind. I'm not sure I really want to share it with you guys. But essentially it comes to, whether or not how open I should be about doing these shows. And I suppose it really deserves a discussion. So maybe we wrap this up. I just got a knot in my lungs on just the thought of bringing this up. But, let's finish off that wine then, why don't we? My apologies. How much should you share with people that you're doing your own show? Which is kind of like living your life, you know? I mean, a podcast can be some of this could be about my life. I try and keep that to a minimum. But, I think you possibly know where I'm going here. If you have peers or people that you respect to some extent, and they're not doing so hot, I can also sound, this podcast / show can also sound like I'm coming off in a supportive manner, like I'm taking care of anybody. But let's get rid of that real quick. Well, let's dispel the myth if possible, as soon as possible. It's just that you wouldn't be watching this show if your husband or your wife was scrolling around on let's say the Chromecast. I don't even know what that is. On the smart TV. So my audience would most likely be people that understand that at the very least I'm not going to be a complainer. So the aspirational stuff or motivational stuff or the undertones or whatever are definitely for us being on the same boat. That's what we do. If the weather kicks up or what, then we need to learn how to tie knots and things. Get, in the moment if necessary. Enough said. Okay. I'm not sure, but I think that could be enough about... you guys know how much fun I have when I do this. So if it doesn't sound like I have fun, I had a decently terrific week. Did we really finish up what I wanted to talk about there? Yeah, how much do you let people in your life? I don't even know. At this point, I don't really, it doesn't bother me enough to care. So we'll just end it here. There you go. Magnifying glass on my life, if you will, and if so necessary. enjoy, loving the props this thing for the week, but in all reality, let's have some fun out there. Maybe I did something this week, maybe I didn't. It doesn't matter. You have fun out there, and I'll see you next week. All right.